Splash is everything when it comes to cannonballs. As you enter the water, be as round as you can. Pull your knees in, make yourself a little round cannonball. Basically, think of yourself as being dense.
I don't understand.
Not dumb.
I'm smart.
Maximum sphericalness. Be the cannonball. When I was a teenager, hard to imagine, I know, there was a band called Not Drowning Waving, and I remember nothing of their music, but I remember the name because I always loved the name. Just this idea of someone mistaking for what you're doing out in the water for indicating you're drowning, when really you're just saying hi. Not everyone is asking to be saved. Some of us are just enjoying the swim and waving to the shore.
Help.
Some people are actually drowning. So I don't want to dissuade you from running out into the sea if you see someone waving.
I'm coming!
In trouble out there. Where am I going with this? Ladies and gentlebutts, check this out.
This summer I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned.
That was Loudon Wainwright III.
But I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around.
Singing one of my favourite songs, the swimming song.
Moved my arms around.
I love that song. And of course, lucky you,
Lucky?
I'm going to tell you why. Tell me why. First, Joy. Which happens to be my middle name. I'm not even making that up. Janine Joy, JJ. I never use that as a security answer, so you're really getting no inside information by knowing that. It's a song that is just filled with joy of spending a summer swimming, of learning all the strokes, of having that sensation of water. You could not get me out of the water when I was a kid. I think I may have even learned to walk in a pool. The water speaks to me. Long summers, splashing about in pools and creeks and dams. Yes, dams, I know they're dangerous. Shouldn't swim in farm dams, but lived on a farm that's a puddle of water. What's a girl to do? Wet hair and water on concrete and always slipping on your thongs. That's the Australian definition of thongs, flip-flops. You know, the sound that thongs make. Holding your breath underwater, going from one end of the pool to the other underwater. This is a small pool, not like an Olympic-sized pool. Diving, swimming in the creek, leeches.
Leeches!
Let's not talk about the leeches. If anyone's swum in the Muller Creek lately, let me know. Are there still leeches in it? I think it dried up. So there's that. Joy. The other part of the song that I love is the sentiment itself, about how you should devote yourself to something for an extended period of time in order to fully explore the intricacies of that skill or pastime or whatever it is.
Hopelessly devoted.
To me, that song is about a couple of words that mean the same thing. Sort of, but not really. 1, devotion. 2, commitment. 3, practice. There's that P word again. It sounded weird. And then there's a 4th word that doesn't mean the same thing as all those other words, but is tied into them. And that word, also alluded to in the swimming song, is risk. This summer I went swimming. This summer I might have drowned. Might have. There's the risk. He took a chance. He might have drowned, but he held his breath and he kicked his legs and he moved his arms around. You just got to keep moving. I am jumping ahead. I am giving you the end at the start. I'm really no good at this. Don't feel like you have to agree with that in the comments.
I don't want to hear it.
This is a song about practice and exploration. And like I said, the might have of the drowning. There's something great about taking the time to devote yourself fully to the pursuit of something, knowing full well that there's the risk or the chance that you might drown. You have to immerse yourself in it. And in the case of the post I wrote called Drowning in Excellence, I'm talking about immersing yourself in the creativity of others, breathing everything that they've done into your lungs, into your heart, into your brain, and then absorbing it in some way. In order to learn how to swim yourself, you take a dip in their pool. You dive in, you thrash about, you partially drown yourself in it, but, survive.
Logical.
Wait, did you just say flimsy construct? How dare you? I'm just saying, go under the surface. Hold your breath. Do a goddamn cannonball, you chicken. Learn to swim. Bigger, vaster, greater point. Devote yourself fully, completely, wholly, and with 100% enthusiasm for a summer, 3 seasons, a year,
5 years.
a lifetime,
How many more times?
10,000 hours in order to better understand it. I mentioned 10,000 hours there. I think that dovetail... Is this a dovetail? What's a dovetail look like? Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours? Please note, I do not want to hear your well actuallys when talking about Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule. It has been oft misinterpreted or misrepresented. I mean, I think what he says makes sense. It just it depends on what you're applying it to. Do you need to spend 10,000 hours learning how to cook an egg? No, you do not.
Cooking an egg is a science.
But do you need to spend perhaps 10,000 hours becoming a chess grandmaster? I think perhaps. So, Malcolm Gladwell, this guy, he said, practice isn't the thing you do once you're good, it's the thing you do that makes you good. Whoa. But that's not the 10,000 hours. He wrote this book called Outliers, The Story of Success, which I have never read. I'm going to talk about it as though I know, because bluster is what gets you through these days. In this book, he explores what makes successful people successful and expands on this idea of the 10,000 hour rule. The 10,000 hour rule, if I were to sum it up, is that if you want to become proficient at something that is cognitively difficult, then the average I think they've determined is you need to spend 10,000 hours practicing it. Practice. I think that's where all the misunderstanding comes in and people poo-poo it because they're like, well, it didn't take me 10 years to learn how to do that. To reiterate, cognitively difficult, complex things require the 10,000 hour rule. Practice. Bigger point, you have to immerse yourself in the task to master the task. Practice, practice, practice. There are no shortcuts to mastery. Practice. Repeating things that may seem quite tedious until they become second nature to you. You don't even have to think about them. Practice. One of the examples he uses is the Beatles. Never heard of them. And how they spent 1,200 hours over a 4-year period playing in Hamburg, in Germany, before they became absolutely enormous.
We were just kids let off the leash, really, come straight from Liverpool to Hamburg.
Which was their foundation for becoming the Beatles. I'll have to look them up. And I think there is also the implication that, as well as the 10,000 hours, like some people might spend 10,000 hours and still, they might master it, but they're still not any good at it. You probably need to also have talent. The key word there is master. To get really good at it, to know it inside out, and to understand yourself within the application of you to it. 10,000 hours. Now, flip it sort of a little on its side and take the 10,000 hours out of it and go back to the swimming song. I mean, there's 2 ways to take this idea of spending a summer or a year or a lifetime doing something. You either are spending that time diving into someone's work to learn everything that there is to learn about how they're doing it, why they're doing it, what you can perhaps learn from diving into their work and almost drowning in it. And the second way of interpreting it is after you've immersed yourself in all these different types of swimming, all these people's work, is that you are able to swim yourself, learn how to swim, drown in excellence. I said in the piece, study the swimmers, graduate in the drown. And once again, I stick the landing. I work my way around to it. It's the might drown of it that appeals to me the most, right? The taking of the chances. You might drown in it, but through the examination of it, you learn the building blocks of that skill. If you say flimsy construct one more time, I'm going to reach through this screen and just throttle you.
Empty threat, we both know it.
One of the biggest things you can get out of it is the willingness to drown, to pursue that thing and take a chance.
If you change your mind,
Take a chance.
Because it all comes back to that line in the song, the might drown, and the resolution of how you don't drown. You just hold your breath, kick your feet, and move your arms around. Simple. Don't be afraid of failure. Be brave. Jump in. Then go find a body of water of your own and maybe invent some new strokes. I don't know. Wrap it up, Janine. This video does not need to last 10,000 hours. The end. Psych! I used to laugh at how corny the saying practice makes perfect is, because I don't think anything will ever be perfect. But there is a lot of truth in that. It's a 10,000 hour thing. It's not as obsessive as 10,000 hours, but the pursuit of the devotion, the immersion, cognitively complex endeavours. 10,000 hours. Like becoming a violin virtuoso. Probably 10,000 hours. Winning a cannonball competition? Probably not 10,000 hours. I'm guessing that the most searing question that you have after all this is, how do you do the perfect cannonball?
Cannonball!
Excellent question. I'm glad you asked, even though you didn't. Maybe I asked that. The key judgment of the perfect cannonball is the size of the splash. To get the best splash, according to a thing I read about the physics of the perfect cannonball,
Let's make a real splash this time.
you have to make your body as spherical and dense
I don't understand.
as you possibly can as you hit the water. You also want to have a bit of height to it, but as spherical and as dense as you can. Quote, as soon as a body hits the pool's surface, water is displaced to make room for the plunging object, that's you. Since that water has no other place to go, it shoots upward and outward. This initial splash, sometimes called the radial jet, is very fast. It leaves the water at 20 to 30 times your impact speed.
I really did make a splash.
Fascinating. Then some other physics shit happens, and water displacement and some kind of hourglass thing, and water clashing and shooting up, and then an actual jet. And I really don't care to go look it up. I can't do everything for you. Oh wait, I suppose I was going to tell you how to do the perfect cannonball. Do you know how to swim? You should probably start there. Also, just reading a little more from the physics thing, the object shape is very important. Weight is also a factor, since heavier objects will form deeper air cavities. So, you picking up the donuts that little quote is putting down? Yes, you need to execute 10,000 hours of donut eating in order to have the requisite weight requirements to cause the biggest splash possible for your perfect cannonball. But let me also just retract that, because
I'm not a doctor.
don't spend 10,000 hours eating donuts. That is not dietary advice. I am not a nutritionist, scientist, doctor, any kind of expert, really. The occasional donut won't kill you. In fact, it's very tasty. But everything in moderation, you know? I mean, everything in moderation except those other things that you're doing the 10,000 hours for, like violin or Tetris. I don't know. You are full of it today. Not donuts, though. Goodbye.
So it's not hard to fall when you flow like